So I get a lot of people who ask me, Eric, how do I get into the sync music licensing industry? Well, one of the first things you will need is a place to showcase your music, some place to show off and show out what you can do, and really provide a beautiful place to send to music libraries, to music supervisors, to sync agents, as well as labels, family, friends, clients, and more. And listen, it matters how you look and how it works for the person you're sending it to. Now, I have to admit, I got my first sync licensing deal with a SoundCloud, but that was 4 years ago. This industry has changed a lot, and SoundCloud is now filled with ads, and it just isn't as professional as you want to be when you are trying to get into a crowded and competitive sync licensing world. So today, I want to talk about disco. No, not that disco. This disco. Music Management Solved. The music platform that makes workflows easier and business speedier. And as it says on the disco site, and it's just the truth, the industry standard for sharing music. Now, I have been using disco for about 3 years, but even now they have new tools that are coming out and just blowing my mind. And as I am wont to do, as you know, I like to go right to the company and get their thoughts on their product, what it does, and why it's different. So sharpen those pencils, folks, because today we are going to talk with the head of new markets and education at Disco, Tim Bern. And we're going to get some real education on how they provide you with the tools to make you stand out to music libraries, sync agents, music supervisors. This is a music supervisor tool. I'm happy to be here today with Tim Bern of Disco. And Tim, you're going to have to explain to someone who only knows disco as a dance genre what disco does at its core. Tell me what you feel disco is if you just had to explain it to someone.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me first. Disco is a music management tool used by the music industry for storing files and their data, sharing and presenting across the industry. It's an internal search engine for the people that are using it to work through all their own music. It's a discovery tool where you can find other disco catalogs, and if you're a music supervisor specifically, and it's just we've sort of wrapped all of those into one thing. So instead of bouncing between many different platforms, you're in this one space where you can do all of your work for the most part.
Without too much history, what was the impetus of disco? I mean, who just sat there and said, you know what, we need to make this thing?
Yes, I mean, so I was working with a music supervision company I'm in New Zealand and from New Zealand, but it's an Australian company called Level 2 Music. We built Disco because we were using iTunes and Dropbox as a team. So everyone had their own iTunes and their own hard drives and their own Dropbox, and they were just constantly downloading up and uploading files, like literally all day long. And so Disco was the way that we got into one place where the whole team accessed all the same files, the same playlists, could search through their previous playlists, send them to our clients so they could listen and download if they needed to. So it's bringing everything that we were doing and other platforms together into one place. And from there, we shared it with the rest of the industry, and it is what it is.
Gotcha. And what is your role at Disco?
I'm head of education. I've been pulled into the marketing team in the last few months, but I launched Disco. I was the first salesperson. So I was the guy in LA, and then there was another person in Australia, and pretty much us plus our CEO got it all rolling. So there were no customers when I started. So I've kind of evolved from selling it, onboarding people, customer success, always doing support. And then that's kind of led me towards this education place because it's all in my head that I dump out. And now it's more marketing because we've never done marketing. It's all been word of mouth. And now we're like, oh, well, we want to talk to wider audiences. So
great.
I'm there now.
Well, I'm so thankful that you are talking with us today because I think this is an important tool for a lot of the people who watch this channel. It's licensing has been probably in the first two sentences of this channel since it started. It's been about all music incomes, but music licensing is very popular on this channel. But I've been using Disco now for several years to work with the libraries and to pitch and all that kind of stuff. I initially as a SoundCloud replacement, and it's like light years past whatever SoundCloud was. And I found it's the best way to show off music. There's not a better way, especially now with some of the tools we're going to talk about today. And I'm starting to realize it does much more. And I want to just start wherever you want to start on how to use Disco, and just go ahead and tell me how you think how you best explain it.
All right, so I'll just give you a quick run through the very basic things in Disco first to give some context, and then we'll jump into how to do bits and pieces.
Okay.
So each Disco has its own URL, so it lives in the cloud. You can access it from anywhere. So when you create it, it's yourname.disco.ac or your company. Once you're in there, you're going to be creating playlists, which will have tracks in them. A playlist is like an album, and I'll talk a bit more about the difference in Disco because there's a slight difference. But here's a playlist for this artist, Melina, with her tracks. You can play audio and scrub on the waveform. You can look at metadata on the tracks and edit it, which is really important. We'll talk a bit more about that as well. You can build playlists from any files you've already uploaded. And again, it's not just audio. It is videos, documents, photos.
You can put anything in a playlist, not just audio. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Like here's a photo, for example. And if I had a video file, which I think I do somewhere, do that. And then as you save playlists, there are all sorts of different settings and ways to present them. I'll quickly just show you this artist page, which is what we're going to build in a minute. And this is it's called a Disco artist page. It's just a design type of a playlist. There are a few different design templates you can use. So you've got your big hero image and the bio or press release. You can have all your socials here. Obviously, you can play through the tracks, watch the videos, view the photos. You can divide up a playlist however you like with sections, embed a YouTube, or if you've uploaded a video to Disco, it could live down here as well. And you've got all your different download options. Notice how there's multiple files available. Disco's doing some file processing for you. So when you upload a wave, we make an MP3 automatically. And that allows you to add metadata, because MP3s carry metadata and waves don't, just typically.
Do you recommend that people go ahead and upload wave just to make sure you're starting with the best quality if they can?
Yeah, either a wave or AIF. AIF has an advantage in that it carries ID3 metadata and is high quality. Yep. Most people have waves, though, because that's typically what the recording industry uses.
Well, actually, the recording industry doesn't care about waves versus AIFs. From the producer side, engineer side, AIFs are fine, as acceptable as waves. As a matter of fact, some software still prints AIFs, and we don't care because they sound the same as waves. So they're both quality files. So if you want to work in AIF or AIF or whatever you want to call it, you can, and nobody in the industry is really going to care, at least from the production, from the technical side.
Yeah, I mean, most people prefer them, especially like editors. But I think if you're burning CDs, they have to be waves.
Yeah.
So just simply, like literally, that's the tie back, I think. But they don't have any advantage other than that. So that's essentially creating playlists, uploading files, editing metadata, and then you can store your contacts in Disco. I've got a few different Discos open. We'll get into that stuff. And then you can organize in the channels. And later on, we'll look at a few of the sort of discovery options. But just wanted to give that really basic look on, like, it's a search engine. So if I wanted a track by that artist, I can just type it in and it comes up. This is only searching what I have put in Disco. And this is a really important thing, actually, that's often really confused by people when they first get Disco. They're like, oh, I've put my music in Disco, now I'm going to get syncs. When you put your music in Disco, it's like you put it into your Google Drive or your Dropbox. It's not publicly visible to anybody. It's not like SoundCloud where you part of this network right away.
And that's a good thing, I think. I think it's a good thing to have a special place that you send people. It makes it cleaner. There's no ads. There's no anything going on. No one is distracted by any craziness on the page like they would be at SoundCloud or Facebook or anywhere. It's ad free. It is clean and clear. This is why people in the sync world love it, and people who want to do business love to go to disco pages because there's nothing there except what they need. Okay, so we've uploaded and tagged songs. We haven't talked about the tagging a lot, and we've talked about showing it off a little bit with an artist page. There's also an album page where you can do a similar thing to what you just showed, except it's really just for the album. And I'll do that whenever I release an album or I have an album of a style of songs I'm showing off on my webpage. They'll click on a little cover, and it'll take them to my album page on Disco, which will be very beautiful, and it will look great. They'll be able to play. Here's a question for you in relating to links and or downloads. Do you find that, since I use mine for not direct sending all the time, I just use it right off my website, I keep the downloads off and just make it streamable instead of playable, which for showing people songs is what they prefer usually anyway. But I know there is also the thought that you should provide downloads in case somebody wants it so bad the minute they hear it, they want to download it. Can we watermark those and do something to them so that if they use it, we'll know? Or tell me what your thoughts are behind downloading versus just streaming.
The most common use case in Disco is that you are sending a playlist to somebody for a very specific reason. You're responding to them, and that's kind of how the industry's working. It's, I need music for this, I send music for that. So it's going to be downloadable by default because they need to pull those tracks down if they like them and put them into some kind of an edit. If you're just like hosting music on a website, and you can embed Disco playlists. There's in the share area, there's an embed code, and that can be downloadable or not.
Beautiful.
So just a website, I wouldn't have it downloadable. I'd keep it streaming only. So I just removed those download links.
And I guess really it's easy enough just to duplicate the playlist and use a separate one for your website if you're going to be doing that, and another one for pitching. You know, you could do it that way.
That's exactly right. Like literally it takes a click to duplicate and change the settings from, this is my copy, this can be streaming only, and I just toggle it on or off there. And you can always edit a playlist to change those settings over and over and over again, edit, and then undo that, because it's sort of this live thing. So in general, you'd make streaming only playlists that are just sitting on your website or somewhere that's kind of mainly more publicly accessible. But when you're sending to a music supervisor, you'll make them angry if you send a streaming only playlist.
Gotcha.
Because there's no point.
Good to
of
know.
Course, and they're dealing with the most high profile VIP music all day long, pre-release. So it's their job to not leak music. And certainly it's most important that it's their job to legally get the right to use the music. So if they did steal your music and then put it into an edit, you could sue them if you found out. So that's not something that most people are concerned about with dealing within the professional industry. But you don't know who's going to grab stuff off your website randomly and use it.
No, and again, I'm not scared about music supervisors or sync agents downloading anything and using it because they that's their job, and they can go bad for them if they do the wrong thing. But when I was talking about just putting on my website, but we've already talked about how to fix that. One other thing I've noticed here. There don't seem to be any store links, or is that one of the things you could put as one of the little links, like to Spotify, Apple Music, and all that kind of stuff on the artist and album pages?
Yeah, those would just be things that you'd add, like social links, I guess. I mean, we have these ones available. You've got your Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music.
Well, there you go. That's enough. Okay, so you do have store links. Cool. Very good. Okay, so we've made amazing playlists and pages for them that we're seeing now. Let's talk, and we've been able to show them off. And now let's talk about what Disco does specifically to get these to the people that we want to hear them.
So there's a couple of levels of Disco, I guess, subscription. What most people watching this are probably going to go for is the artist plan, which is a newer plan we released last year, and it's $12 a month, and it has unlimited, track storage. And in it, there's this opportunity. So this is I'm in an artist plan, and I'm going to show you a music supervisor plan
I just
as well.
saw this. Yeah.
So this opportunities tab is a very new thing. I guess traditionally, as in a year or so ago or two, Disco was very much about it's me and my space and my music. And when I need to share it, I create a playlist and I share it. No one has insight into my account, and that's the sort of nature of it.
Right.
And then obviously, though, as we've built this ecosystem of there being all of the music supervisors on there and all of the different labels and publishers and pitching agents, it's like, okay, well, how do we connect these things together? So the opportunities tab is specific to artists and this work with artist plans. And we're starting to put things in here. And like I say, this is the very beginning. We just did this collaboration with Cannes Festival. And you can, if you're like a film composer, you can submit for this opportunity. So that link's going to take you off to their site where you can put in a Disco page and go into this competition. We've started with this survey, and we've got artists submitting music to us, which we're about to release this first thing called Fresh Spins, which is kind of like we have music supervisors on our team that are going through essentially things in the network that have been put out there, and we're going to start putting out these curated playlists and giving them to music supervisors. So this is Fresh Spins is specifically things that are coming from artists through the artist plan that they're submitting for, and we'll start putting briefs in here eventually.
Ooh. Wow.
This is all very simple at this stage, though. What we have is the Discovery Suite, which is this add-on plan, and mostly it's, rights holders are going to be subscribing to that. And what you can do, and I'll just jump into this music supervision Disco account, you can build a catalog, or what we call a Disco catalog, which is like a searchable library. Let's just jump into one of these. Like, here's Sun Records. And so you have your base Disco with all of your music and everything in it. And then if you added the Discovery Suite to build these catalogs, you can create as many as you want. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's like a searchable interface.
Okay.
The Sun Records, we can play through their tracks. They've got playlists here and albums and artist profiles. And it's all searchable based on the auto tagging that Disco has, which is part of the Discovery Suite. If you're on an artist plan, you get the auto tagging for free, which is really cool.
Wow.
It's just part of it. Music supervisors get the auto tagging as well. So you'd have to build one of these Disco catalogs, and then opt it in to this space, which is what we call Discover Music, which only music supervisors can see. And they're on a special plan, and there's 900 plus music supervisors that use Disco. I think that it's important to point out that they are using it like they used to use iTunes and Dropbox. They've imported their terabytes and terabytes of music and all of their old playlists, and it's their sort of workspace where they build playlists and search and manage everything. And they also receive music from the outside world, but that's because they ask for it and it's sent to them directly, usually in their inboxes, which are designed for receiving music.
All right, let me ask you this. If you send them a Dropbox playlist that you have made, you're not part of the what do you call this new thing with the catalogs?
I call it like the Discovery feed. Let's call it that.
Okay, and you can't do that on the artist account, right? You have to jump up to another account for that.
You'd have to add the Discovery Suite to your artist plan, but we're working on a thing so the artists are going to be able to put like a page into this system. Gotcha. So that's just kind of, we're just not quite there yet.
Okay. So, but let's just say you've sent them a normal playlist, and it's a normal playlist page or artist page. And is there a mechanism that the music supervisor you sent it to can save files in their database when they see them? Is there something that they
Yeah.
can do that?
Yeah, and that's sort of the essence. Disco playlists have save to disco buttons, and that's
Okay.
the alternative to downloading. When I click save to disco, that playlist appears in my disco inbox. So I
As a music
instantly have
supervisor.
access to those files. Yeah. I mean, anyone with disco that receives a disco playlist can click save to disco. Um, and any playlist that you share, generally, if it's not streaming only, will have that button on it. So it's the way that people basically have avoided uploading and downloading. It's this direct send. Now, once I've saved this and I have this playlist in my Disco account, I can do what I want with these tracks. It's not connected to your Disco anymore. It's like I downloaded them and re-uploaded
It's like
them
you put
to
them
my
in a
Disco.
Dropbox.
Yeah, exactly. And now I could edit the metadata and I can play it and I can share it with whoever I need to, my client, which might be an agency or a TV show. And that's not going to affect your disco. So if I change metadata here, it's not changing it in your account. It's
Gotcha.
separate. And so music supervisors are constantly receiving all of this music all the time and adding it to their disco account. And then they can just search within their disco for it because they essentially have unlimited storage space as well.
I can remember when I first got into Sync back 8 years ago, whenever it was, and I was hearing people have arguments, and these were music supervisors about which thing they like better, Box or Dropbox, or they were arguing over all the different, places that you could send them, links they wanted you to send. There was just so much argument about it. I take it a lot of that argument is over now with Disco.
Yeah, I mean, even people that don't, music supervisors that don't have disco still prefer to receive a disco playlist for the most part, just because you can stream the tracks, you can read the lyrics, you can read about the artist, you can download you'd have to download at that point.
Yeah.
So it's just, that versus what it looks like to receive SoundCloud or Dropboxes.
One thing we haven't talked about is email creator. And I just saw this as because I just upgraded to the artist account. Explain how this is better than just having a MailChimp. I mean, I could see because it's tied in, but why don't you explain it? You'll probably explain it better.
One thing is that the artist plan doesn't have access to the email creator, and that's because we had to create some kind of differentiation between what rights holders need and what artists really need. The difference between the email creator, and we'll just go into an email here. Like it's just like we essentially built our own version of MailChimp. Yeah. So you'd choose who you're sharing with, then you build the email in the same way that you might build an email, drag and drop.
Okay.
But the biggest part is that you can add a disco playlist, either a button or a playlist, and then you choose the playlist from inside your disco. So I'm editing this particular one. I go and find the playlist that I want to add to this email. And when I share it, let's say I sent it to 1,000 people, the stats that I get are just way, way deeper because it's creating unique links for every single person that I've shared with.
Wow.
So this is everyone I sent to. And then I can hover over each of these numbers and see which tracks were streamed by each person.
Yeah. That's
which
great.
tracks were downloaded, which playlists were downloaded. So it's way deeper. Whereas if you took a disco playlist and put it into MailChimp and blasted it out, on the playlist level, you're going to get stats, and it'll look like this.
Right.
All the people you shared with, all their stats are combined. So you can still see that there were streams and downloads and what was streamed or downloaded, but you don't know who did what if you put a single link into a MailChimp. Now, with the artist plan, you don't have access to the email to actually use the email creator. The idea for the email creator is sending business to business and not to fans, because it's not really intended for, say, more than 8,000 sends.
And you can still, though, on the artist level, and I think even on before I even had the artist level, I could make a contact list, though, of contacts. What could I do with that on the artist level if I make a contact list?
Yeah, so I mean, relationships, everything, right? And managing them is really important and keeping track of what's going on. So in the contact database, at the very least, it's just a place to put everybody that you have relationships with, tag them as to what they are, where they are, um, and you can create mailing lists. And then from a playlist level, you can actually go into the share area and you can find a mailing list that you've created, New York show invites. They'll be BCC'd, so they're not going to see each other, but that's a
Okay.
mailing list I created. And I could send this out. And it's a basic email. So it's not the email creator, fancy designer design, but it's
Gotcha.
still an email. And you can share to all those people in one go and invite them to your show in New York or whatever that might be.
But that would still be basic stats we get back on that. Like, just we
You'll get
wouldn't get.
great stats. You'll still see, but you just look at them on the playlist stats level. So here we can see each
Oh,
person.
so you will see
that
individual people.
they'd be listed out. Yeah. It's just that you're not doing it within the email creator. So that's perfectly fine. You just don't have control really of what that email looks like, just what it says.
Right. So email creator is to be more professional, like you're going to want to send out a monthly email or something, newsletter. And email creator takes you kind of to that MailChimp level versus this, which is kind of a basic email, but still gives you those stats that you want to see who opened it and who opened what,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
still pretty good.
Yeah, and the email creator, we're talking people that are sending, tens of emails a week out of that, if they're major label. So it's, and highly targeted lists for different things. It's just overkill for most artists, I'd say.
And to any artist or composer watching this, you should not be sending more than a couple of paragraphs anyway. When you are putting something together, the simpler, the better. When you're sending out a pitch to the first time, if it's a blind pitch, you want 3 paragraphs: who you are, why you emailed them, and hope to hear from you, and then the playlist. And that's all you want to put on something anyway. So to me, that's pretty great, actually. But what I would caution against, if anybody is watching this and there's thinking, man, I could just plop this new playlist out to all these I just found all these emails and I can just throw them in there and just spam all of these people with this playlist. You better not be doing that, because you will then, I think everybody knows from watching Jesse or anybody else who's involved in sync on YouTube, the perils of trying to do that and getting multiple music supervisors interested in the same song and having to deal with the wrath of them if that doesn't go. But still, that's a pretty great feature that you can keep a database of contacts and you can simply email them and be able to see who opens it and what they open. That's pretty great.
Yeah. And what you're saying there about this, spamming out, there is literally no advantage. It's all disadvantage to doing that. Because firstly, no one opens those emails anyway.
Right.
And secondly, all of your income and work is ultimately going to come through a couple of people. So you just need to focus in on building a couple of really good relationships and then building off of that. That's far more important. You have to sort of reach wide initially, but it's actually better to be physically out in the world trying to connect with people, because music supervisors get 1 billion emails a day and they open the stuff that they recognize and absolutely need first, and then eventually maybe get to the random stuff that comes in, but it's just the odds of it being opened are very, very, very low.
Absolutely. All right. So when I put in a lot of the people that I work with, there are, you get the name, you get the email, and you have to use the comment field a lot of times because you got to put the name of the company or something in there. But one of the things I think is there's only a few things there's like music supervisor. I think there's library. I don't think there is sync agent as a
Are you
thing.
talking about
Yes, the tags for who they are. And sync
you can
agent would be a great thing. So you can add your own tag.
Yeah, you can add your own tags. The only tags that are there's one tag which is writer, that is the only one that's really hardwired, because as soon as you tag something as a writer, it actually opens a couple of additional fields up. publishers acts and PRO.
Yeah.
But yes, you can add your own tags.
Okay.
You're not
Good to know.
limited.
Is that something that comes only with the artist, or is that with all accounts?
Every account, yeah.
Great.
The
Okay.
tag database is the same for everyone.
Good to know. All right. Awesome. All right. So we've talked about a lot of different things here. There are some new things that I want to talk about in this video, just so people know that they exist, or at least they're new to me. Auto tagging. You talked about that a minute ago. I'd like to go a little deeper into that because that's very attractive to me because I don't have to sit there and tag everything and go through that. And re-tag after I've already tagged them in other sites and stuff like that. Show them how this works a little bit, just because this is a big deal to be able to put in metadata into these things that you upload to Disco and to be able to auto tag. I assume this is done by AI. It's listening and then tagging.
Yeah. So with the artist plan, like I say, the auto tagger comes with it. It's just part of it. Whereas on sort of normal Disco plans, it's part of the Discovery suite that has to be added on.
Gotcha.
If you were on a normal plan, then the way you auto tag tracks or playlists is you drag them onto this auto tagged tracks area that sends them to the auto tagger, which listens and analyzes and then adds this creative information. If you're in the artist plan, as soon as you upload the track, it's automatically sent and auto tagged.
Wow.
So you can, if you're doing a search, you can click on a tag and it shows you the tracks that have that tag on it. And let's just go back here. If you don't like a specific tag, you can remove it. You can add your own tags manually if you want, just with the little tag icon and go through the options. Disco has its set of tags. There's about 140 of them. You can add custom tags. The auto tagger won't learn them, though. I mean, we need hundreds and hundreds or thousands of inputs for it to learn. But yes, it's a sort of a AI, machine learning that has been trained on what these things sound like.
So if I drag songs into the playlist creator, I'm on the artist plan, all the ones that are in the playlist creator will be auto tagged.
They should be, yeah. And it might take a minute or two for the tags to return. Yeah, and just like we didn't really do it at the very beginning, but to upload tracks into Disco, you just drag them into this area here on the right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah,
drag here. And you can link your Dropbox and import directly from there as well.
So now let's move on to watermarking. What are the use cases for watermarking?
Yeah, watermarking, again, it's an add-on feature. And so when you want to watermark a playlist, as you're saving it, you've got this option and you literally turn on watermarking. This is adding like an inaudible audio watermark to the files. And that's there on anything that's streaming, if they tried to rip the streaming audio. And it's obviously there if the tracks are downloaded. And then if there was a leak of some sort, you need to get that originally leaked file and then run it here in the leak tracer in this watermarking area. This is really stuff that
I was going to say, who is using this?
This is like major label stuff, and anything that really matters if it's leaked. This isn't the type of watermarking that is where we're listening to the airwaves, and saying, oh, this has been broadcast in these 15 different places. That's a different kind of watermarking, which we're actually looking into, but that's not part of what Disco provides. That's often what people do think this is initially, but this isn't
going to protect you any further on YouTube or anything like that.
This is covering your ass.
Yeah, gotcha.
Did I leak the track or did someone else leak the track?
And that's on a business level, probably not an artist level, right?
It's definitely more of a business thing. I think it would be less likely, and it's quite expensive as well.
All right. What about instant instrumentals? Where do they come in? Are they part of the artist package, or what level do they come in on? I've seen that.
Yeah. So instant instrumentals aren't part of the artist package at the moment. They are powered by auto tagging, by the AI. So if you're on a normal plan, you still have to have the Discovery suite, because that then turns on the auto tagging and that turns on instant instrumentals. So you can go to any track and you can click on this, and it and it will generate an instant instrumental, which is,
How good is
stripping
it?
off. It's really good. I mean, people are using it, and it's being put into licensed, synced, and put
Wow.
into edits. So it definitely depends on the kind of music. If you've got if the vocals are really really mixed in and kind of washed out, that is way harder to separate out from a pop track where the vocals really, on top. So that just finished there, and you see this little. So this is the nesting feature, which is also new, which we haven't quite got to. But if I expand that down, there's the instrumental.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can share this with you, and you can have a listen to it and
That's pretty cool.
be the judge. But it went through a lot of development to get it to the point where we're like, yeah, this is good enough. Often though, it isn't. Like, ideally, when you get your main tracks mastered, you get instrumentals made and mastered. That's kind of like a
Right.
default that should be part of your release
Yeah, still keep
plan.
making your instrumentals, folks. Don't wait for AI to do it for you. Go ahead and just mute your vocal and make an instrumental, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it's way better to do that. But this is for this back catalog that's 50 years old, where there's no tapes. They can't go back and make an instrumental if they wanted to, or it's really just on the fly. I want to hear this in the mix without any vocals on it, for whatever video edit, and it's just that's the main point, I think.
So music supervisors, music labels might even want this more than artists would anyway, right?
Yeah, it's very sync specific. I'd say more than anything. And it just saves a lot of time. Supervisors are really loving it at the moment because it's just so helpful. And then because normally it's like, oh, okay, I need an instrumental. I'll write to that rights holder and ask them to send it, and that might be a day or two. Or they're like, oh, we got to go ask the artist, and then the artist doesn't have them and has to find the session, yada yada.
Gotcha.
Whereas this is 30 seconds.
All right, a couple things just to make sure we've got everything kind of covered here, and let's just walk through the steps. You upload, and usually you're just dragging whatever media you want to be part of a particular playlist into the playlist thing, and it just uploads it. Then you can go in and edit it, and you can go in and edit all the metadata right there on that screen. And what's beautiful that a lot of people don't know, if you've got songs back to back, there's a little arrow at the bottom of the screen usually, and you can just go from song to song. You got to be careful that you save every time that you copy, if you're going to be copy and pasting something throughout. But you can also do a copy into one field for all the songs that are in the playlist, which is very helpful too. So if you're just editing the playlist, you can copy one thing into one field across the entire playlist, which is very nice. Like your contact information, which is probably the most important thing that you can put in there for them. Right, yeah, that field right there, I just copy and paste, my phone number and my email, and that they can get in touch with me to license the song at this or use the song or whatever. So that's where that goes. But and you can also change the picture there for the entire playlist and things like that. So that's all good. So once that's all up, then you can get into things like building contacts and putting all the contacts, especially and probably only contacts that you personally know already. Rather than, like we were talking about, just people you don't even know and just that you might spam. They need to be people you've met at a conference, or people that you have worked with and with your library, or people that you've had a personal conversation with already. That's going to be the best people to put in there. And then after that, we can do things like send them playlists, and if depending on our plan, we can email them, and then with beautiful pages that they can look at and see who is looking at these stats, and also put our links in there to our emails and our put our socials in there, put our stores in there. One last thing that you should talk about here, because it's great, is the School of Disco.
Yeah, thank you. The School of Disco is my little baby. You can get to it from this question mark at the top of the screen, School of Disco. Yeah, and this is just our education site. There's this, you'll see my face all over it. It's kind of cheesy. You can sign up for live classes, which run every week. There's a calendar down here. There's a beginner class, advanced, how to build, catalogs and learn about the Discovery suite. So you just pick a date. I'm in New Zealand, so there's times that are based for, and these are going to show it in your time zone. So there's times for East Coast in Europe, and then times that are like West Coast and this side of the world.
What are the costs for those?
That's free. This is all free. Yeah, this is just sign up and go for it. Yeah. Good question. You don't even have to have Disco. You can just come to the site and learn if you want. Video courses. So there's, the Crash. These are just watch through all of the videos on how to do stuff. So the Crash course is a really good starting place. Then the handbook is full of tons of articles about everything that you need to know. Something that we didn't really go deeply into is metadata and how to fill it out. A huge part of what makes Disco helpful is the fact that you can edit your metadata in there and provide the very useful and important information that people need when they receive from you. So you do want to spend the time filling it out, and you can learn all about that here if you want to as well. There's an artist guide that kind of goes through the artist plan and how to make the Disco artist page, and some other interesting things specific to artists. So yeah, School of Disco's got tons of stuff, and you can just search if you want to as well.
So, and when we say artists, we don't just mean artists. You could be a composer or a songwriter or a small, a company or something, and you could be making music, a production company, and you could make your own artist or a company page or whatever. So I've done this with Positive Spin Songs. I've done it with Master Score Music and with Eric Copeland, and I've done it with all my different brands that I have and things like that. So it's just so useful for so many people, and there's so much information on their site. If you need more info and you want to dive deeper, there's almost too much information on there. It's so much, and just go to disco.ac, and that'll take you right there.
Yeah, you can create. You choose right at this point what you are, and then you just fill out this quick little form to create it's a free trial for 14 days, and you can get your hands on it.
And almost everyone watching this is going to click artist. Don't get smart and click on music business thinking that you're a music business because you're a music production company or something. Unless you are looking for music only, do not click on the music business part. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely intended for labels and publishers and, people that are much more in the business. And frankly, it's like the artist plan is way more value for your money, $12 for unlimited tracks, whereas the other one starts at 500 tracks for $10, 1,000 tracks for $15 or $25. So it's really geared, like you say, not just artists, any kind of producer, creator, artist, composer, writer, engineer, if you're mixing and mastering, it's sort of aimed there.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer to move up from the 10 to the 12 for me recently to the artist account. So I really appreciate everything that you do, everything that you put a lot of work into this. And I'm so thankful that you've spent the time with us, Tim, to kind of show us all this, and that we could spend all day talking about this and going through every little bit. There's a lot. Simply put, it's just a great way to put your music up and then have a place for people to go and see what you've done and hear it, because you need to look good as well as sound good. Just sending them an MP3, well, you can't send people MP3s in this business, and so you have to send them to a place where they can stream. And I think the best place, you don't want to be sending them to Spotify, because not everybody has a Spotify account, or even if they do, there's so much more that can distract them there at Spotify or Apple or anywhere else. So it's really, truly important to have a place where they can go and see you and your personality and your songs and not be distracted, and know if it's what they need. And if it is, they can save it to their own Disco account. And there you go. You're part of their listening catalog all the time when they are searching for the right song for something. So I think it's just invaluable. So any last words, Tim?
Well, first, yeah, thank you for having me along. And, there is a lot in disco, and it takes a bit of time to get your head around what you can and can't do and how to use it. So it's really about getting in, maybe taking a class, watching some videos, and just get tracks in and save playlists and share them with somebody as soon as possible. Because once you get through that very initial hump, you're way more likely to kind of start mastering it. We see a lot of people, they start the account, they never upload anything, and they're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But give it a go, because it's out there for the taking.
It's the same as when you started uploading to anywhere. Once you start uploading there and then copying the link and pasting it and showing people, you'll get the hang of it. And once you do, you will not want to go back to anything else. So, Tim, thanks again so much for being part of this video and explaining disco to us. And really look forward to what else you guys do with this, because it's pretty amazing that it exists the way it is now.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for having me. And there's a lot more coming, especially for artists. That's like a big focus now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll have links to everything down in the bottom, including School of Disco, and just the link to go and sign up and all that kind of stuff will be down below. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.